Welcome to the latest episode of the Forecast in 5. I'm your host, Seth Katz. Joining us today is TaMiya Dickerson. TaMiya serves as a partner in EY's Financial Services Technology Risk Practice. She has more than 20 years of experience and focuses on technology risk management and corporate governance for publicly traded and regulated organizations across the financial services industry. TaMiya has a passion for business transformation, especially where technology and change management are foundations for change. TaMiya is a CPA licensed in California and a member of the American Institute of CPAs, National Association of Black Accountants, and the Cal CPA. Also, TaMiya is an entrepreneur who founded the Small Shop LA, a purveyor of clothing brands based in downtown Los Angeles. Welcome, TaMiya. Appreciate you being with us today.
Oh, Steph, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, let's get started with some questions. As EY is considered one of the big four accounting firms, it provides a number of consulting and advisory services to its clients across the world. Can you tell our viewers a bit more about what your role as a partner in the technology risk practice entails?
Yeah, happy to. So, large organizations obviously are really running on their backbone of technology today. And there's very few companies that are as manual. Even if you look at like agriculture, you'll see they're using a lot of machinery and robotics, a lot of data. So, to make it simple, for the financial services industry, which are banks, broker dealers, investment companies, and insurance, I look at the risks related to technology backbone for a company. It could be related to your user access management, how you log in. It could be related to cyber, in which case I would work with a cyber individual that I'd identify to help. It could be related to reporting on matters that go to the board and corporate governance. There's an entire kind of industry that's sprung up in the last 20 years around managing risk for technology and data. And data risk is our hottest topic today, probably just taking over the number one spot just ahead of cyber.
Got it. With around 400 employees working in 700 locations across 150 countries, EY has a massive presence across the globe. What do you believe has allowed EY to successfully expand as it has over the years?
Yeah, I think there's two things. The first is our focus on customer experience. Kind of the culture that we're known for is really having a commitment to positive client relationships and client experiences. And that includes a lot of transparency. A lot of times we're dealing with complicated matters, and a lot of times we're dealing with conflict. So kind of how you come to terms with a client with solving complicated problems or giving options to the client that are challenging where there's not an easy answer. And you do that with empathy and a focus on a positive client experience. I think that's probably the primary thing that our brand is known for and why we are so entrenched, especially in the financial services group. Um, Maybe there's three things. The second one would be technical. So for financial services, we're the most technical organization in the world. And we do that by having practitioners that are professional consultants like myself, who've done hundreds of projects across the globe in different environments. But we also hire a lot of folks from what we call industry. So we have bank operators, bank controllers, bank CFOs, CEOs that we actually hire. And we pair those people together in order to bring that experience that I mentioned. And then lastly, I think it's a congeniality, and it goes back to that positive attitude and how we work together with one another.
Right, that really helps us learn more about EY. Well, while you serve in a critical role within a global organization, you've also spent a portion of your professional career working in Europe and Asia. How have these
Mhm.
international experiences helped prepare you for your current role?
Oh my gosh. So international experiences, I think I draw from all the time. So if I go back to what I said earlier about how to deal with people with different personalities, right? With different investment in outcomes or challenging or even conflicting personal interests in their professional, responsibilities. I think that working abroad has helped me to be able to navigate those nuances with cultures, with languages, with literally, from a communication standpoint, being able to simplify very complex ideas into something that could be understood in Malaysia. I worked in Malaysia. Um, I've worked in Japan. I've worked in London and Geneva. I was assigned to a London and Geneva office for an investment company. I covered the desk there probably 30% of my time for 3 years. And the personalities between the London office and the Geneva office was completely opposite. Like at the Geneva office, they would kick us out at 5:30 because the stores close at 7 and the restaurants close at like 9:30. So everybody has to go home. And it's the opposite of what we do in the US. So learning to communicate, learning to understand the nuances between the stakeholders and to narrow those down to really what matters, especially at an executive level from a global perspective when we're talking about global risk. There was no better education as part of my professional kind of career than spending time abroad.
Well said. Since we have many Anderson MBAs watching who are thinking about pursuing opportunities in professional services, can you share more about the importance of a finance and accounting background and why it will continue to be essential in the business world?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a hot topic and one of my favorite topics right now. So I was attracted to both finance and accounting, and I chose accounting partially because I didn't get my iBanking, my investment banking internship that I wanted. I was interested in accounting. To me, it just made sense. It has a logical structure. But when I was studying business, there's a lot of veins. You can go into operations, HR, you can go deeper into technology. And I felt like finance and accounting, the study of money was the language of business. And I pursued that goal. So fast forward to today, we're actually in a bit of a crisis in our industry. There's a decent number of people going into finance, but a lot of younger folks are turning away because it's demanding, and historically the hours and the stress of the job itself can be off-putting, right? Where you have more men that are involved with families, where you have more dual income homes where both people are working, having to do 100-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, which is typical if you look at like investment or finance, or just being under pressure reporting deadlines that we have with monthly, quarterly deadlines and a lot of stress and pressure. It can be off-putting. So there's a little bit about kind of culture or how we work that could change. Accounting is actually in a crisis where just in the Wall Street Journal and in the Financial Times recently in the last couple months, there were articles talking about where negative 300,000 individuals that we need today to be able to serve and produce financial statements and serve customers and answer these problems and deal with these business issues for clients. So the upside for that is even with the advent of AI, and I talked about data and risk, as many solutions that you put out there, you still need people. Like people still run organizations, and we don't have enough people that are in the industry today. And that makes a lot of opportunities. So I have about another 15 to 20 years left to work in my career, staying healthy. And I think I'm going to have a long one with a lot of demand. And for those students, for those MBA candidates that would be interested in this area, there's a lot of opportunity, and a lot of what we're doing is applying the latest innovation and technologies to solving these problems. But you're still going to have reporting, the ability to communicate, all those things that I talked about working overseas. You have to be able to answer the questions that is relevant to our communities and our stakeholders. So we need people.
Great pointers for our MBAs who are watching today. When it comes down to the future of technology risk, with innovations such as AI and ongoing cybersecurity threats, what do you think this industry will look like in the next decade?
So flip it on its head, right? I said we need people, and that's true. The statistic that I was following was that we're negative 300,000 kind of today, and that could go to negative 700,000 people in our industry. I think it's nationwide. It may be global, but you can check me on that. So the great thing is with the advent of AI, Gen AI, which is really the ability to put into common language questions and get out iterative responses, that's going to help fill the gap on some of the human resource, the people problem. It also what I have seen it do with my own eyes is just you can get more answers and you get them faster, right? You can also increase the level of complexity of the things that you answer. And I'll give you a really simple example. So in the past, when I started my career and I was doing my CPA, you have to do audits and you have to do inventory counts, right? So if I did an inventory count at Forever 21 when I was young in my career, and you go in and you had thousands of pieces and you took a percentage of that, let's say 10% of the thousands of pieces, and maybe you counted 200 pieces or 300 pieces. And then you fast forward and you identify how many pieces might be missing from loss. And then you calculate that, it goes into the final matrix. Well, today you walk into a store and they can have tens of thousands of pieces, right? And you walk into a warehouse and you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of pieces that are managed by robots. You still have the responsibility to count those things, to calculate the value, and to make sure that it's accurate on your financial statements. But the ability to get that done as a person, as a human, is exponentially more difficult. And you really don't have the time, no matter how many days that you have. Walmart has grown so much that if you're trying to, go and count all their inventory globally, it's an impossible task without some type of automation. So the advent of technology, innovative solutions, AI, visual scanning. I was at an event and I saw a gentleman who has a scanning technology that does inventory counts for airlines. So it's deployed for airplanes. They'll take a picture of the Coca-Cola bottles in the drink station, and it counts the number of items that are put on to the cart. And then they take a picture at the end of all the trays, and it counts the number of items that come off of the cart. And they use it to calculate use. But they also use it to calculate weight and balance and capacity. So those are kind of real examples of how innovation has changed and will continue to change. And it'll get more iterative and it'll get faster. But that also means, if I take a step, that also means the propensity for error is more iterative, faster, and greater, right? And that's why you need people who are educated in these matters, who have personal experience, hands-on training. You have to have a balance between relying on the information that you see and validating the accuracy. And that's what we do.
Got it. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. TaMiya, thanks so much for taking out this time to be with us.
Seth, it's always a pleasure. I love spending time with you. I'm honored that you'll have me, and I look forward to seeing the episode.
And thanks to all our viewers for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of the Forecast in 5.